Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's meeting about the Bissell and Lime Wastewater Treatment Facility Fluidized Bed Incinerator Design Build Project RFQ informational meeting. Quite a mouthful. My name is Beth McCoy, and I'm a public affairs specialist with MSD Project Clear. I'll be helping facilitate today's meeting. Also with me today is Brad Navoy, MSD Assistant Director of Engineering, as well as Bentley Green, Associate Vice President of Black & Veatch, our owner's representative. And then we also have several members of the project team with us as well. Before I hand things over to Brad and Bentley, I just wanted to do a quick overview of today's technology. So we can go to the next slide. So as you can probably already tell, you're in what's called listen and view mode. And this means you can see and hear us, but we can't see or hear you. Now, that being said, we do still want to hear from you today. And the best way to do that is using the Q&A tool. So if you either wiggle your mouse or tap on your screen, you should see a menu bar pop up. And in there, you can click on Q&A. At any time throughout today's meeting, you're more than welcome to type in questions there. Now, we will be waiting until the end of the meeting to address those questions during a live Q&A. Just a quick reminder, again, today's meeting is specifically to provide information and to address questions about the RFQ. So you are more than welcome to ask any questions that you have, but questions that are not related to the RFQ most likely won't be addressed during the live Q&A. Instead, we'll follow up with you after the meeting using the information that you gave us when you registered, or possibly include questions in an addendum. Similarly, there may be some questions today that we're just not able to address at this time, but are related to the RFQ. And in that case, we will follow up with answers to that in an addendum. That is all I have, so I will hand things off to Brad.
Thank you, Bess. I want to welcome everyone. My name is Brad Navoy, as Bess mentioned, Assistant Director of Engineering here at MSD. We're excited to take this next step on this important project. This presentation is being recorded and will be available for viewing on the MSD Project Clear website when we're done. Today, our primary objective is to reiterate the requirements of the RFQ, the Design Build RFQ, and to ensure that interested parties have a clear understanding of the submittal process and may ask questions as appropriate to clear up any misunderstanding. Our next slide, please, Bentley. For any newcomers to the project, we're going to give a brief overview of MSD. Many of you have probably seen this before. So this is an overview of St. Louis MSD. MSD is two utilities in one, providing both stormwater and wastewater services around the district to 1.3 million people in the St. Louis metropolitan area on the west side of the river. We have 7 treatment plants that treat around 350 million gallons a day. And after all that treatment, we have an abundance of leftover biosolids that we need to deal with in an efficient and environmentally friendly way. That's really the purpose of the project that we're here to discuss today. The project will implement state-of-the-art incinerators at 2 of our largest plants. Next slide, please, Bentley. So MSD's mission is to protect the public's water, and in this case, air. We have determined that incineration is the most responsible decision for St. Louis to deal with the leftover biosolids that I mentioned earlier. While our existing incinerators continue to work fine, they are getting out of date and showing their age. We know that newer technology offers a cleaner solution going forward. With the project, MSD is taking a major generational investment in cleaner air for the St. Louis region. Next slide, please, Bentley. In addition to our internal leadership from our engineering and operations teams, we have engaged an owner's representative to support the preliminary project development and advise us throughout the implementation process. The owner's representative team is led by Black & Veatch and includes the companies shown here. Please note that these firms are precluded from participating with any design build teams on the selection. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Bentley Green with Black and Veatch to talk in detail about the project RFQ.
Sounds good. Okay. Couple of technical issues there. Thanks, Brad. We'll start with the project and give some information about it, as most of you have been following for quite some time now. As you know, with addendum number 3 that was released on November the 5th, the RFQ process has started and a new schedule has been published. We'll go over that in just a few minutes. Additionally, there is a site visit that the design build teams can take on Wednesday, December the 1st. Please note that the district's COVID-19 protocols for that site visit will need to be adhered to and complied with. Information about the compliance criteria was included in addendum number 3 and has been sent out to each team as well. Also note that for the site visit, each team should be prepared to bring their own personal protection equipment for the visit. So hard hats, safety glasses, safety vest, steel-toed boots, and so forth. One other thing about the project, just in general, project funding is going to use SRF and WIFIA funding as part of their funding process. Most of you are aware and familiar with that process as far as compliance. It's included in the RFQ, so just be familiar with it. Things like the Davis-Bacon Act, American Iron and Steel Act, and so forth. And so lastly, as far as this information goes, as Bess mentioned earlier, there will be an addenda that is released as part of this information meeting. Use the addenda as far as any information that's conveyed, although we certainly want to convey accurate information here. If we misstate anything or state something slightly different in the addendum, use that information as part of your decision-making process. About the project, generally this is just going to be a high-level overview of the project components. Also note that we are planning to release a state of the project video next week, which will kind of give more detail about the overall level of design completion that has been completed on the project from the owner's rep side. Generally speaking, we have been developing the request for proposal portion of the project as a 30% level design completion. We know that there are different components that each of the design build teams are going to be interested in understanding the level of completion associated with that. And so we will try to give you as much information as we can in the video that's going to be completed next week. And then you can have that information as part of your confidential meetings that we're going to be scheduled from on December 7th and December 9th of next week. Of the week following, excuse me. Invitations to those were sent out to the points of contact for each of the design build teams last night. So if you got questions, be prepared to talk about your team and ask questions and generally convey as much information about your team as possible as we go into that. Again, as you can see, the various project components will be included in this project. It's a large, comprehensive, major project, one of the largest facilities projects the district has undertaken. As Brad mentioned earlier, we're looking to invest $500 million in the upgrade of the biosolids facilities at their 2 largest treatment plants. This will include fluidized bed incineration, dewatering, all of the conveyance and building components that go with that, as well as the site work and demolition work. Okay. Why fluidized bed incineration? This shows a schematic of that process. Basically, the district a number of years ago undertook a master plan to take a look at each of the biosolids facilities at each of its 7 wastewater treatment plants. The district conducted a triple bottom line assessment that considered economic, social, and environmental issues and reaching a conclusion about which process was best for each plant. And from that, the district ultimately concluded that the multiple hearth incineration system that had been in operation at Bissell Point and Lee May would ultimately need to be replaced. The decision was made to replace that with fluidized bed incinerators. The fluidized bed, or FBI, as our anagram goes, offers new and better technology compared to the old multiple hearths, and offers a much better opportunity to lower emission rates from the incinerators. Although it should be noted that the district has successfully operated the multiple hearths and are in compliance with their emission and regulatory limits. Even so, the FBI technology is a much better technology from an emission standpoint, and will offer the district the opportunity to reduce those emissions. Now I'll get into the overall layouts of the facilities. Again, this is very high level. We'll be providing more information again next week when we walk through the state of the project. Overall, at both facilities, we're talking about 7 different treatment trains with fluidized bed incinerator systems. The Bissell Point facility, shown here, will have 4 treatment trains, and they're each rated at 80 dry tons per day apiece. Giving Bissell Point a total firm capacity of 240 dry tons per day with 1 train out of service. The location of the facilities has been identified as being between the existing maintenance facilities at Bissell Point and the existing ash lagoons, as shown here. As previously noted, once the system has been converted over to the new FBI units, the existing multiple hearth incinerator building and dewatering building will be demolished, along with the 2 storage tanks shown in the lower left of this layout. The Lee May facility is going to be a little different, a little more challenging. We're looking at 3 treatment trains there at 80 dry tons per day apiece. So all 7 units are going to be sized at the same capacity. This will give Lee May facility a total firm capacity of 160 dry tons per day with 1 train out of service. The Lee May facilities will have a slightly different site and structural component to them. The existing maintenance facility at the Lee May treatment plant will be relocated into what is now the abandoned grit and screening building, shown in the lower left of this layout. This will be constructed in this area and partially located, the FBI facilities will be constructed in the area shown and will be partially located along the embankment between the Lee May treatment site and what was previously called the old defense mapping property to the north of that.
Hey Bentley, sorry to interrupt. We did get a question. Someone mentioned they're having a little trouble hearing you. So if you wouldn't mind just speaking up a little bit.
All right, let me see if I can adjust my headset here. I'll also try to speak up. So
thanks, Bentley.
If there's any questions, let me know.
Thank you.
All right. The FBI layout and cut section. This is basically, we're showing this as a quick reference to the 3D Revit model that is being developed as part of the 30% design plans. This is to be included in the RFP documents and provided to the shortlisted teams. Showing it here just to show you that there is this is a model being developed as part of this process and will be provided to each of the teams so that they may incorporate the model and modify it as they need and as they develop their own unique plans for this project. And before I go on, Bess, did I come through a little bit better there? I tried to up that volume a notch there.
Thanks, Bentley. Yeah, I'm hearing you okay. If others aren't, you can notify us in the Q&A, but I think you're good to go for now. Thanks, Bentley.
All right, sounds good. Sorry about that. Hopefully I'm coming through better. Okay, overall schedule, as you know, we had a temporary delay and we've picked this back up. So our overall schedule is listed on, as shown, as depicted on this graph. Fortunately, we did have the opportunity to pick up some lost time with some float that we had built into the overall project schedule prior to the delay. One of those, for example, was the fact that we had built in some regulatory review time that we're going to have completed by the time we release the RFP. So we'll be able to pick up about 6 weeks as part of that process. So ultimately, we're going to get right back on schedule, and things are just going to be slightly delayed in when the RFQ is being submitted. One of the things that we're going to do is release the RFP along with a notification of the shortlist, which is currently scheduled to be completed or released on March 17th. Okay, RFQ submittal. All right, key dates here are, as you all know, the information meeting that we're having today, the site tour that we'll have on December 1st next week. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we got confidential meetings set up from December 7th through the 9th. January 5th will be the last day to answer, to submit questions about the RFQ. January 27th will be the submittal date. That will go to the electronic plan room. If you have questions, you may submit them to me by email at greenb2@bv.com. You may also, if you need to, call me or text me at my cell phone, 314-402-8359. Please note that there have been 3 addenda that have been issued to date. And as we mentioned earlier, there will be a 4th that's issued as part of this meeting. One of the RFQ requirements is that you acknowledge receipt of all the addenda. Hopefully you can all see this slide. It's the fonts may be a little small, but all of this information is included in the RFQ. As noted, there is a 25-page limit with some sections counting against the page limit and others not, as shown in this table. Again, note that this is an electronic submittal. One thing we'll correct with the addenda is no flash drive will be required since it's going to be an electronic submittal, and that'll get corrected in addendum number 4. Note that the project understanding and relevant experience section of the RFQ provides guidance for a table with some of the requisite information that we're asking for and looking for. Just note that this table is not intended to be any type of a constraint to the teams. If you have a better way of format, of conveying that information, please know that you have the wherewithal and freedom to do so. This is just a guide or a suggestion. If you want to use that, that's perfectly fine. Also note that we'll have a clarification of Appendix C and D that will come out with addenda number 4. There were a couple of financial requirements that really belong in Appendix D that were shown in one table to be included in Appendix C. So we'll clarify that going forward. As you know, Appendix D includes the financial information that will be submitted separately. Lastly, I would say that generally there's going to be a carryover from the RFQ to the RFP on and the SOQ that you will be submitting basically complements the proposals that you'll ultimately develop, and it'll allow your team to expand on those and note if anything has changed in the meantime. As far as RFQ criteria, these are noted. Some of these are evaluated for compliance only. The key elements here that we're looking for are obviously those 4 that add up to the 100 points: your team organization and leadership, your overall qualifications and experience of the personnel, project understanding and relevant experience, as well as your overall delivery capacity and approach. Your safety record will be evaluated for general compliance, and EMR of less than 1 is desired. However, note that this is not a disqualification criterion. And should a team have a higher EMR, they would just need to submit an exemption request that outlines why the EMR was higher and what their plans are to address that in the future. The financial strength narrative is also evaluated for compliance and is included so that the teams can demonstrate that they have the financial wherewithal to complete a project of this size and scope. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is the district's diversity program. The district's MWB utilization and workforce program for design build construction projects was updated and released on March 1st, 2021. And that's been posted on our project website since about that date. And that's been available for your review and consideration. Also note that, and many of you participated in this, diversity outreach, which was recorded and which has been on the project website from the June 2nd diversity outreach meeting that we completed at that time. Lastly, a diversity outreach video outlining the district's overall approach to MWBE participation was released on November 10th, and that was sent out to all of the different teams that are every person that had signed up on the district's project website. Generally speaking, the overall goals are listed on the slide as we've noted here. For the design portion, there are no subcontract goals. The design workforce goals are 18% minority participation and 32% women participation to receive credit during the RFP evaluation process. On the construction side, there is a 10% minority and a 10% women business-owned goal for subcontracting. And the overall workforce goals on the construction side are 14.7% minority and 6.9% women. So any questions about those, let us know and we'll get those answered for you as far as MWBE and diversity workforce goal participation requirements. All right, wrapping up here fairly quickly. The RFP process will be submitted electronically to the STL MSD plan room as previously noted to the attention of Rich Umberford. Please note the 2 p.m. Central Time submittal requirement time and date of January 27th, 2022. And I would also encourage all the teams that are interested in this project to submit some form of a test document prior to that date so that we can confirm that there's not any kind of electronic glitch or any questions or concerns about how to do that. Where we've done this previously, we did find out that a team or prior to this had an issue that they needed to quickly resolve. It was not a major issue and it was quickly resolved. You just don't want to find that out at 2 p.m. Central Time, January 27th. So encourage everyone to upload a test document, confirm that you've got the process down for how to do that. And so with that, I am going to turn it back over to Bess and we can start the Q&A process. Thank you.
Excellent. So we will go into live Q&A like we mentioned. I don't see any questions in there now. So just a quick reminder, if you'd like to submit a question, you can do so by wiggling your mouse or tapping on your screen and then clicking Q&A in the menu. And you can type in your questions there. We'll give folks just a minute or two to type in any questions they have. In the meantime, just a quick reminder, we do have our project page available on our website at msdprojectclear.org/SMU. You can find all of the project updates there and a lot of other information about the project there. You can also submit questions directly to Bentley using his information here on the screen, or you can submit general questions to the project email address smu@stlmsd.com. All right, we do have one question. Slide 18 indicates credit in the RFP stage. Should that be RFQ? And it looks like Bentley is trying to go back to that slide.
Yes, just I wanted to reread that. That will be in the RFP process. Those that will be considered. And there will be bonus points awarded in the RFQ stage as outlined in the and the SOQ stage is outlined in the RFQ. But these goals will be evaluated as part of the RFP process as well.
Thanks, Bentley. We'll give folks just another minute if you have additional questions you'd like to ask now. And then just a reminder, we are recording today's meeting, and we do plan to post that on the project webpage. Again, that URL is msdprojectclear.org/SMU. And I hope to have that up here pretty shortly. We do have another question. It says, okay, to count an 11 by 17 org chart as 2 pages in SOQ, question mark?
We will clarify that in the addendum. We need to have a discussion and make sure we make that available to everybody.
Thanks, Bentley. We'll give just another minute for those questions. Feel free to type those in now.
I thought for sure we'd have some questions about Bentley's turkey dinner he's going to have this week, but it's not.
We do have a request. Please confirm meeting locations at each plant for site tours December 1st.
Good question. We will provide some clarifying information on that in the next day or so, but generally speaking, the plan would be to meet at 9 a.m. at the Bissell Point facility, and we will generally walk through that facility over about an hour and our hour and a half period. We'll take a break to allow the teams to pick up a snack or do whatever they need to do and travel, down to the Lime facility, where we will pick up the second leg of that site tour and have about an hour and a half dedicated to the Lime facility as well.
So Bentley, you'll get them like an area they can park in then?
Right. We'll note that in an upcoming correspondence where we need to have a gathering point at both facilities.
All right, I'm not seeing any more questions in the queue. We'll give folks just another minute. Feel free to type those questions in now. Otherwise, we will wrap up the meeting. All right, Bentley, Brad, I'm not seeing any more questions. If you would like, I think we can wrap up.
Sounds good. We'll just conclude with happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I look forward to seeing all the teams next week at the site tours.
Thanks for everybody's time today.
Agreed. Thank you all for joining us. And like I mentioned, we'll have the recording out soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Bess.